Hey guys, come follow me time again. So we're in Mosiah chapters 7 through 10. It's a non-teaching week, as in, this isn't one that's going to be taught in Sunday schools. It's still one you want to teach at home though, and there's still some really good stuff, but I'm going to keep it short because I'm actually not feeling too great, but I'm okay. I just probably need some rest. Been very, very busy, and I've got another busy week coming up, But I'm still here for you. Still got you. So if you've got questions and I didn't cover something, just DM me. You know the drill. I'm here. If I can't find it, I'll find someone that knows. And we'll talk about that this week too, actually. It's very cool. Okay, so there are about to be 2 different timelines. So far we've covered, and actually, now I got this off Don't Miss This, and I drew it in my scriptures, but there you go. Gave you time to take a screenshot. Definitely, though, if it's in the Don't Miss This with David Butler and Grace Freeman. So if you want that, there's 2 different timelines. There's several different versions of this that you can find. I've got one to hand out to my class. But basically, we've been in Omni to Mosiah 7, and that's one timeline. But in that same space of time that had the first Mosiah, King Benjamin speak, which was covered, and then Mosiah 2 getting crowned, and he then sends out some people going, hey, I wonder what happened to those other people that left ages ago back in Omni. If you remember Malachi talking about his brother going and not coming back. And so then he passes on the plates to King Mosiah and King Benjamin, knowing that they're safe there. So if you can remember that from a few weeks ago, that's that timeline. Now that all happened up in the land of Zarahemla, because prior to that, a whole bunch of them had left, knowing that the land of Nephi was kind of just getting a bit, right? So Zeniff was the one who left. Now, Zeniff comes down from Mosiah 1, so at the beginning of kind of Mosiah's time, which would have been around the beginning of Omni, somewhere in that area, and he comes down and goes back into the land of Nephi to figure out, what happened down there. They call it the land of Nephi-Lehi or Lehi-Nephi, but it is the land of Nephi. That was where Nephi was set, where Nephi left the Lamanite people and set up Nephite town, but that just got a bit, and the Lamanites kept attacking them, so a lot of them went up further, more north. That's where the land of Zarahemla is, and they called it that and lived there and was doing great. But then they're kind of wondering, hey, what happened to people we left behind? So Zeniff went off with a bunch of people, including Amaleki's brother, down to back to the land of Nephi, and that's where you get Zeniff's story going with, and we'll read on because this comes in now from, I think, 9 or 10. Zeniff talks about what's going on, and let me just be certain here, because we've got Ammon, not the actual Ammon. So yeah, chapter 9 it starts, and so chapter 9 literally goes back in time to the beginning of around Omni. So you got that 2 timelines. And then you'll read about Noah and Abinadi. Now Abinadi comes up before this. They talk about Abinadi and what happened, give a bit of history to it, and then we get to read actual story of Abinadi, which is incredible because that converts Alma the Elder, which leads to Alma the Younger, and then a whole lot of really good missionary work and a whole lot of repentance and some really good stuff, which I love. Throughout Alma, that Ammon and that Alma, honestly, 2 of the best writers about hardship, and Ammon especially, that particular Ammon, one of my favourite scripture people, so I'm looking forward to that. And then we get to Limhi, which is where we're at now, so there's a parallel timeline there, and honestly, I read the Book of Mormon for probably 30 years before it actually dropped into place. I started as a kid, and it would have been maybe 4 to 6 years ago, reading again, that it suddenly just went and made sense. So don't despair if it's not working for you and you don't understand it. It's okay. Take little snippets from each little bit and how that applies to you. It's going to bless your life. So you're not getting that timeline yet. Don't panic too much. There's a lot of charts. I don't do so well with charts. I'm more visual, need to see it or read it. But charts work for a lot of people, so there's plenty out there on the internet. Have a look. There's some good ones. There's some ones that are, but a lot of people do resources and they put them out there for free. So just be grateful that they share, right? Okay, so anyway, we're going to look specifically at verses 14 to 25 and 33 of chapter 7 for this one. Now, this is, so this is where Ammon, the first Ammon, goes down to the land of Lehi Nephi, and Limhi's king, and they take 16 strong men, and off they go. And this is in the time of Omni. It takes you back to Omni. This is not the time of Omni, this is later, but it takes you back to Omni. You'll read that in 1a, it said, the land of Lehi Nephi. Came to pass that after King Mosiah had continual peace for the space of 3 years. So this is Mosiah the second, King Benjamin's son, that had peace for 3 years. Continual peace? Doesn't that sound great? I'd take that. I'd take 3 years of it. 3 minutes would be nice, really, anyway. I do get 3 minutes here and there, but you know what I mean. It would be nice. So they went down to this land, or in the city of Lehi Nephi, for his people had heard nothing from them from the time they left the land of Zarahemla. Wherefore they wearied him with their teasing. So it's a lovely way of saying, like, we're curious what happened to these family people. We're not nagging, but we're curious. So Mosiah granted that 16 of their strong men, they go up, meaning they go to that land. And one of them was Ammon. He was a mighty man, a descendant of Zarahemla, and he was also their leader. So this is, dude. Can't wait to see how they describe them as like that. I don't know. I'm just, I'm thinking all sorts of like kind of Dwayne Johnson rock goodness there, but who knows, right? Maybe they were all 4 feet tall and this guy was only 5 foot. Who knows? I don't know. So they have this traveling. They see them there, and they get captured. Basically, he gets captured. And they get into prison for a couple of days before they get to meet the king, because the king's wary of them. And it says there, verse 8 says they'd be in prison 2 days before they brought before the king, and their bands were loosed. And the king says to them, like, why the heck are you here? What do you want? And he said unto them, and he says, I'm Limhi, the son of Noah, who came from Zenith, and, I want to know why you're here, why you're so bold to come to the walls of the city and invade this area. Like, he's really like, what the heck are you doing? So in verse 12, you look out, when Ammon was permitted to speak, he went forth and bowed himself before the king, rising and saying, I'm really thankful that I get to speak to you. Now, even just coming in with that attitude is going to make a world of difference to people. He could have stood there and said, hey, I just came to see you. What the heck? Quite contentious backways. He said, no, I am so grateful I get to speak to you today. And he goes on in 13, for I am assured that if you had known me, you would have not suffered that I would have worn these bands. For I am Ammon, and I am a descendant of Zarahemla, and have come out of the land of Zarahemla to inquire concerning our brethren, whom Zenith brought out of that land. And when Limhi heard these words in verse 14, he gets so happy. And he's like, oh my gosh, yes! Kind of like, I'm so sorry, come on, come in, your family, But you get, if you're living out in a place like that for so long, and you have even like a ministering person from church or a missionary knock on the door, you're like, okay, what do you want? You're immediately in that space. So a little more grace there. So they just get there. He tells them all the plight of the Lamanites, the whole thing. So Limhi speaks of their circumstances, and yet the consequences that they caused them were their own actions. He's like, we got ourselves into this mess. We're under bondage of the Lamanites. We did a deal to stay in this land. Because it was being overrun by them, and we thought that we could have it, and we did this deal. We failed at trying to fight them off, but actually that was their cunning all along, and we fell for it. So we're in this because of our own issues and problems. But then he goes to 25 and 33, which is just lovely. 14 and 25. So 25, 23 and 25 actually just talk about the goodness of their circumstance and how they've borne it and that, but it's really 33 that says it all. It says, but if you will turn to the Lord with full purpose of heart and put your trust in him and serve him with all diligence of mind, if you do this, he will, according to his own will and pleasure, deliver you out of bondage. They knew that they could get out of this, and like, this is Ammon come to say, hey, I'm coming to save you. So they were really, really grateful. But have a look at this, and how does this bring hope to you, knowing that whatever bondage or whichever circumstance you get yourself into because of your own bad choices, there's always deliverance. Always. So think about that. I just like that. So it's a bit of history, a bit of that. We're going to talk more about how this whole works, but we're going to say in chapter 7, look at verses 26, 27. I'll see you there.